So the U.S. hit a daily record for coronavirus vaccinations over the weekend. That's kind of nice to say that we hit a new kind of record. But there are growing concerns about what it will take to convince enough Americans to be vaccinated in order to stop the spread. Yesterday on Fox News, Dr. Anthony Fauci was asked about a concerning new poll that shows Republican men, in particular, those who supported President Trump, are reluctant to get the vaccine.
According to a recent poll, 49% of Republican men said they don't intend to get the vaccine. How much of a difference will it make if President Trump leads a campaign for the people who are most devoted to him to actually go out and get the vaccine?
Chris, I think it would make all the difference in the world. He's a very widely popular person among Republicans. If he came out and said, go and get vaccinated, it's really important for your health, the health of your family, and the health of the country, it seems absolutely inevitable that the vast majority of people who are his close followers would listen to him. I'm very surprised at the high percentage of Republicans who say they don't want to get vaccinated. I don't understand where that's coming from. This is not a political issue. This is a public health issue.
Yeah, you know, Katty K, as always, the president is such a hypocrite. He gets the shot himself in private.
Secretly, he and Melania.
Yeah, he and Melania secretly get it.
In January.
And then they won't show anybody else and won't tell other people to get it. And he's been playing with conspiracy theories his entire presidency. And now 47% of GOP people who supported Donald Trump are now saying they're not going to get the vaccine. It's this personality cult issue. And you wonder why the president who got it himself doesn't tell everybody else, get the shot.
We know that the one thing that is critical if we're going to get to that July the 4th deadline and make it, that Joe Biden lined out this weekend for being the kind of return to normalcy, it's not going to happen unless large numbers of Americans get the vaccine, right? The vaccine is our way out of this. We all know that. World leaders around the world have got their vaccines in public in order to persuade their voters, the people who support them and follow them, to get the vaccine themselves. We know the power of role models in this. We've seen role models in the African-American community come out and say specifically, we are trying to get you, because you believe in me, I'm going to get my shot in public, so that we know that it does work. For Donald Trump, though, to do it in public, I guess would be, I mean, he said it at CPAC. He did say, go and get your shot. To be fair, he came out in public at CPAC, but that was just people who were listening to CPAC, I guess, that heard that. But for him to go on camera and do it would have a huge amount of influence on the people who have, you know, support him to the end of the world, would clearly go and get it if he got it in public. But for him to get it in public would be what? Somehow admitting that Joe Biden had some kind of credit, or coming out in credit. That's why he didn't take part, I guess, in that PSA announcement with the other former presidents. He doesn't want to give any kind of credit to this administration. So doing anything perhaps that would help this administration, I guess that's why he's not wanting to do it now.
Joe, doesn't he take credit for the beautiful shot?
Yeah.
I mean, he takes credit for it in terms of the accomplishment that the Biden administration put together so quickly in record time compared to his botched response to the pandemic, where he didn't pretend it existed for months or came up with literally like crazy ideas that came out of nowhere, out of some crackpot's brain, like putting bleach in your body to get rid of it. He came up with crazy ideas to counter it, but he never actually got anything substantial done. In fact, most people would say what he did during his time as president during this pandemic led to more deaths.
Well, so you have a couple of things going on here, and Katty, that's right, he did say something in passing at CPAC, but he didn't. I was talking about the presidents. He didn't go on, didn't do the PSA announcement. He's not gotten out there telling people, go get your shots. And Reverend Al, how interesting that Donald Trump and all of his supporters will screech and yell about the importance of Operation Warp Speed, and why isn't he getting enough credit for Operation Warp Speed? Well, he should get credit for Operation Warp Speed. But how bizarre, if that's such a big damn deal, why are 1 and 2 Republicans, for the most part, not getting the vaccine or saying they're not going to get the vaccine? And why isn't Donald Trump, if he thinks it's such a big damn deal, if he thinks he had created such a, quote, beautiful shot, why isn't he making sure that people are getting it so we can open this country back up?
This is the real display of the real pettiness and dark side of this president. He wants to take credit for something, yet he won't promote what he's taking credit for. But at the bottom of it is he shows a real insensitivity, if not a sense of not caring about the health and life and death of his own followers. He rather play these games with Biden of who's going to get credit and I'm not going to enhance what Biden is doing, rather than say, wait a minute, we have to be concerned about the very people that voted for me, that support me, and that still support me. At some point, I don't care how big an egomaniac you are, you should be concerned about the public if you're a public servant. And it shows how really hollow this man is in terms of any moral concern for anyone outside of himself.
So let's just make this very simple. If the president wants to go off and say nothing, that's fine. It's not his responsibility anymore. Yeah. But if he's going to keep taking credit for the vaccine, if he's going to put out press releases about the vaccine, if he's going to talk about his beautiful shot, if his people are going to keep whining about how he's not getting enough credit for Operation Warp Speed, which he should get credit for Operation Warp Speed. If he's going to be engaged in that debate, then you know what? Then stay engaged in that debate and do what's best for America. And
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank all of you out there.
Thank you as always.
Thanks to at home.
Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for letting us into your homes during these extraordinary times.